Subscribe to Atten Recounts right now if you want to understand how a simple piece of scrap wood and a common glass bottle outsmarted Axis saboteurs and can still stop a modern burglar in their tracks today. During the 1940s, the window was the most vulnerable point of any civilian home, especially during the chaos of the Blitz, when sirens masked the sound of forced entry and the mandatory blackout turned every street into a predator's playground. British Home Guard manuals and civilian defence leaflets were filled with low-tech, high-impact strategies that focused on the forgotten window trick that outsmarts modern burglars by turning the window from a point of entry into a sophisticated acoustic trap. While modern security relies on Wi-Fi signals that can be jammed or sensors that fail during power outages, these WWII's methods rely on the unchangeable laws of physics and gravity. We are going to examine the raw mechanics of sill stacking and mechanical ventilation locks to show you exactly how to harden your home's glass perimeters against any intruder who thinks they have the element of surprise. Shatterproofing techniques turned glass into a structural barrier that forced a loud and violent commitment. Back in 1940, the primary concern for civilians was, of course, blast damage from nearby explosions. But, the X-tape method actually served a secondary, highly effective tactical purpose for home defence. By applying heavy-duty adhesive tape, or even strips of linen soaked in flour paste, in a crisscross pattern over the glass, families were doing more than just preventing shards from flying everywhere. They were, in fact, increasing the structural integrity of the pane, which meant that an intruder could no longer perform a so-called silent smash, where a single point of impact causes the entire sheet to fall away. Instead, the glass would stay bonded to the tape, forcing the intruder to physically push or pull large, heavy sections of glass, which inevitably creates a massive grinding noise that's just impossible to ignore. For a modern application, you should really apply high-quality security film to your ground floor windows. This mimics the old wartime methodology by ensuring that even if the glass is shattered, it remains a solid, sticky barrier that requires a loud and time-consuming effort to breach, effectively stripping the burglar of their most valuable asset, which is speed. The mechanical ventilation block allowed for airflow while physically grounding the window sash. During the stifling heat of the war years, civilians needed to keep their windows cracked for ventilation without inviting a paratrooper or a looter into their bedrooms. The solution was a remarkably simple piece of wood known as the Sash Block. Families would cut a piece of 2x2 timber to a specific length and wedge it firmly into the track of a sliding window. This allowed the window to open exactly 2 inches, enough for air but too narrow for a human torso. If an intruder attempted to force the window upward, the wooden block would transfer the force directly into the frame, creating a solid mechanical lock that cannot be picked or bypassed with a shim. To implement this today, you should measure the track of your sliding windows and cut a wooden dowel or block to fit. Screw the block into the upper track so it can only be removed from the inside. This provides a physical stop that is far superior to modern plastic window latches, which are notoriously easy to snap with a simple pry bar. Passive acoustic sensors on the inner sill utilized gravity to create an unmistakable high-frequency alert. The most famous trick of the Second World War era involved the strategic placement of glassware on the interior windowsill. Families would stack 2 or 3 empty glass bottles or ceramic jars in a kind of precarious V formation right in front of the window sash. The physics here is brilliant, honestly, because it leverages the intruder's own movement to trigger the alarm. When the window is slid open or pushed inward, it makes physical contact with the glassware, causing the entire stack to tumble onto the floorboards. The high-frequency sound of ceramic or glass shattering is a specific noise that the human brain is, well, biologically tuned to hear even during a deep sleep. To apply this with a serious tactical focus, you should place a small glass bottle on the sill so that it's leaning just slightly against the window pane. If the glass is pushed, the bottle falls. By placing a metal tray or a hard ceramic tile on the floor directly beneath the sill, you can amplify the sound of the fall, ensuring the alert is loud enough to wake the entire household and, send any intruder into a state of immediate panic. Visual light management and the reverse silhouette technique prevented reconnaissance from the exterior. Home defense in the 1940s, was really shaped by the blackout, and folks quickly learned that light discipline was actually a pretty powerful defensive tool. They figured out that by hanging a secondary lighter-coloured curtain about 6 inches behind their main blackout curtain, they could create what they called a dead zone. So if an intruder tried to peek through a gap in the outer curtain, all they'd see was a flat, neutral surface, no way to judge the layout of the room or spot where anyone might be hiding. On top of that, people started using floor-level lighting, which meant that if anyone tried to come in through a window, they'd be silhouetted against the far wall, while the defender, they'd stay completely hidden in the shadows. If you want to put this into practice today, you should use sheer curtains behind your heavy drapes. That way, outsiders can't see in during the day, but you can still see out. And at night, just make sure you keep your lights low and away from the windows, so you keep that tactical darkness. It gives you the chance to spot a breach before the intruder even knows where you are. Implementing these low-cost mechanical solutions provides a fail-safe layer of modern home security. The final lesson from the WWII window trick is the importance of defense in depth. Families did not rely on just one method. They used the gravel path, the sash block, and the sill alarm in conjunction. This created a multi-layered system where each failure by the intruder triggered a new alert. For a serious history enthusiast or survivalist, the goal is to create a home where an intruder must fight through physics and noise at every step. By combining modern security film with WWII dat is strategie CSIS, secure twiremais. And a passive sill sensor, you create a window that is nearly impossible to breach quietly or quickly. This is a zero-cost upgrade to your home security that does not depend on a battery or a cellular network. It is a proven system forged in the most dangerous decade of the 20th century that remains completely effective against the threats of the 21st. The ingenuity of our ancestors shows us that the best solutions are often the simplest ones. They survived the Blitz by mastering their environment and using common sense to outthink their enemies. If you found this breakdown of historical window defense and tactical survival valuable, subscribe to Atten Recounts right now. Share this guide with your community to ensure that these essential life-saving skills are never lost to time.